Hello and welcome to the Bev for Real show. Today we just want to say welcome back and thank you for joining us every week. Today we have a very special guest with us, Miss Anika Myers. Her topic today is I grew up not seeing colors, but others has.
Hey everybody, it's time for the Bev for Real show. Are you ready? Come on. Hey everybody.
Vice Productions.
Are you ready? It's time for the Hey everybody. Hey everybody. Come on. Hey everybody. Hey everybody. It's time for the Bev for Real show.
Welcome to the Bev for Real show. Miss Anika, welcome to the Bev for Real show.
Thank you.
It's an honor to have you today.
I appreciate it.
Absolutely, absolutely. How I first saw you was on Facebook, and your topic, we'll go into that a little more, was so horrific in a great way. And you spoke about some topics that others need to know about. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I am a senior at the University of South Carolina. I study public health. I'm 21 years old. I'm a member of the South Carolina National Guard. I'm biracial. That's pretty much a good gist of who I am.
Okay, awesome. So let's talk about, you did speak of being biracial. So tell us a little bit about that and growing up, because that's right now is a great topic to discuss, that there are others that are growing up the same way. And, you know, I've had friends, associates, that were biracial. Growing up, we don't see colors, just like your topic says. We see the heart. So tell me a little bit about that with you.
So when I was growing up, I grew up only around my white side of my family, so I didn't really have the cultural experience of what it was like to grow up with my black side of my family. But it wasn't until I got older that I really started noticing differences, not even just like within my family. There's absolutely nothing wrong with being raised by white individuals. However, it was just the fact that I was missing the other side, or that they didn't see things from a different perspective because they hadn't personally experienced it themselves.
Right.
And I also grew up in a very rural town, so a lot of the ideas that they have are very conservative, very Baptist in a way, if that makes sense, old school. And like I said, they don't really see outside the perspective that they know in that specific area.
Wow. So in the town growing up, you would say the majority of the ruling were less African Americans and more.
Oh, absolutely. So whenever I was in school, I went to school there, pre-K, elementary. I lived there from the age of 3 until 13, I believe. So I went there for preschool, elementary school, and middle school. And the whole time I was there, I would say at any given time for all the minorities, there was maybe 20 to 30 minority students out of hundreds.
Wow.
Throughout the entire school system.
Wow. So I'm sure being like that, you got to see a lot of things and hear a lot of things.
I did, but I was also still really young. So once I moved away, it's even more so that I saw it. And I'm not going to say that I didn't hear things or I haven't even been told by my family member experiences that I had. But as you get older, you realize more things, of course.
Right. So tell us a little bit about that.
So one thing that my mom actually shared not too long ago, which I don't happen to remember, but she said that she had come to visit me at school to have lunch with me, and there was a boy who I'd come into contact with, and he was on his way to the principal's office, and I jokingly said to him, "You're headed back to the principal's office?" And he goes, "Yeah, but at least I'm not black." So that really, if that gives you an idea of what it was like. So that is one example. And then one that I also remember is I was in 6th grade, and these are kids that I grew up with all my life. I considered them close friends, and one of them was my cousin as well. And she happened to speak up afterwards, but we were sitting there and they were drawing, and they said, "Anika, look at this drawing," and it was a black man hanging from a tree. And I said, what is that? Like, why do you think that's okay? And they're like, "Well, why are you upset about it? You're not black, you're tan." And I actually said that myself when I was growing up. Like, I've never liked to be put labels on. So I would say I'm a tan individual, or I'm Anika. I don't identify as one specific thing.
Right.
But I had to tell them, like, that's part of me. That's who I am. And this is old, outdated things. I was a 6th grader, and my cousin, she was like, "That's absolutely disgusting. That's wrong. You don't do that." That's
Right.
What do these people do to deserve to be portrayed in that way?
Right. Wow, I know that had to be hard.
It was difficult, and you know that because we were still so young, those are ideas that they're being passed down. They don't just know that. They don't just think those things.
That's
so
right.
it's learned behavior for sure.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we say that all the time because really children don't see color. They see friends.
Right.
They don't see the things that adults. So it has to start in the home. You did speak about that you did not get to spend time with your black side of the family, as you said. Is there any reason why you didn't, or I mean, if you don't want to?
Oh no,
talk
I'm
about
fine
that.
talking about it. So unfortunately, my biological mother and my biological father, they didn't have the best relationship, and my father was also, he fit a lot of the stereotypes that you see in black men, but he grew up in the hood. He started selling drugs. He was involved with the wrong people, so he was incarcerated majority of my young life, and it was really hard for me. I've always, like I told you before the show, I'm very mature, and so I had a very mature understanding of things, and I just decided I didn't want to be a part of that. I didn't want to be in that environment, and also my family wanted to protect me, so
Absolutely.
it's not like they would really trust those circumstances, me going and being out in that environment.
Right.
So they didn't want to stop me from seeing him. However, whenever you're locked up from such, for such an extended period of time over and over again, you're not in a secure environment. You don't have a stable life. So it's not a place for a child to be.
Right, absolutely. Did any of his family members reach out, or?
So I do have a younger sibling. I have a lot of half siblings actually. So I would like go and see her on occasion stuff, and there was never like a falling out. It was just, like I said, it was definitely a personal decision. I felt uncomfortable a lot of times there. I was an outsider. There's racism and there's colorism, and I did get treated differently around, because they weren't my family necessarily, but they would treat me differently also. And it just wasn't something that I really cared to be a part of, and it was all mainly a personal decision.
Oh wow, absolutely. I think at some point in your life, if you're not comfortable, no matter what a situation is, remove yourself.
Right.
So that's definitely understanding. So growing up in school, you spoke about that. Tell me about it when you started getting older and you realized a change.
All right, so older. Well, this one, I'm gonna start with this. This wasn't so much older, I would say maybe like 7 or 8. And my family members, when they would introduce us to people that they had known for a long time, they always made sure to make emphasis that I was their niece. Not that I was their niece, but it was like a complicated situation. And as I got older, I was thinking, why would they say that? Like, why are you guys it's so important that you put emphasis that I'm outside of the family and I'm not really a part of the family.
Wow.
It's an odd connection. And so I told him, I was like, if you're not proud for me to be a part of the family, then there's like, I don't know what to say. There's no need to introduce me that way. But these are outsiders, basically.
Right.
These are outsiders. You don't need to sit here and explain oh, this is so-and-so's daughter, but she comes from here, she comes from there. If I'm your family, I'm your family.
Absolutely.
So then as I got older and I moved from outside of my hometown, I moved to Fort Mill, South Carolina. And it's by no means super diverse, but to me, from where I came from, it was very diverse.
Mm-hmm.
And I would see posts on social media from my hometown. There was KKK rallies in my hometown.
Oh, wow.
And it's just the fact that you would feel comfortable being in an area like that and it being such a hateful group that it just kind of gave me an idea of what my hometown was really like.
Wow. So you will actually see that.
I saw videos of their marches, and then I also saw photographs of where they had hung a KKK banner outside of a business. And then they couldn't legally take it down. I don't remember for exactly what reasons, but they weren't doing anything against the law. So it was legally allowed to be there.
Right. Wow. So I know at some point in your life, you had to say, wow, what is really going on? Yeah.
Yeah. I've always been very intuitive and I question things, but I also I've been good at letting things go at the same time. So if people aren't a part of my life, that's not really something that bothers me too much.
Right. Absolutely. Let's talk about your Facebook post that you put up. Why don't you tell everybody and share with them what you put up, how you were feeling when you did it at the time, and let's talk about what happened after friends and family realized what you posted.
Okay, so the post that I made was, I don't know, it was quite a few months ago now. It was like 3 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
And it was directly after, it was George? It wasn't George Floyd. It was, no, maybe it was George Floyd.
I believe it was George Floyd.
But there was an event in Georgia that also happened previously, right before that, when the young man was chased down.
Right.
And regardless of the trespassing that they wanted to claim that there was, that is the important part of the discussion that I have to say. Doing illegal activities or being Black or being in a specific area is not a death sentence by any means.
That's right.
So for George Floyd, the reason that I made the post I made on Facebook was because the way that I grew up, these are still very respectable people. They're very kind people. And they always taught me to speak up for what was right and what was wrong.
Right.
And they always were so proud to, speak on specific topics or be political. But that is something that I also included. This is not a matter of politics. I am by no means a politician. I am a human rights activist, by all means.
Right.
So I just became frustrated. I was saddened, but I was frustrated. And I would say I become more filled with anger and rage as the days go on, unfortunately, because as I told you, it's a tireless battle and it's a tireless argument. Like, why does there need to be an explanation for this? It's common sense if you ask me.
Right.
So I was just calling out my close family and friends, and I'm saying, you have so much to say about what's right and wrong any other time. Why don't I see you speaking up for these injustices now?
Right.
And it's very clear, it's very obvious. You can look at proportions, rates, statistics, any of those things,
Absolutely.
and you can see that there's a clear difference.
Absolutely. I mean, I read that, and in the process of reading, I'm saying, this is a strong young lady.
Thank you.
A bold young lady, speaking out from her heart, that Black lives do matters. People say all lives. Well, all lives do matter. But Black lives have gone through it so much.
And for so long, and that's something that I did want to mention earlier, what I was thinking about when I was coming here is, All Lives Matter was not a response until Black Lives Matter came to be.
There you go.
And it's not Black Lives Matter more, they're more important, we're better, we're superior.
Right.
It's that we matter also, we matter too. And that's why I also say, even though it's become political and there's people, taking their political stances regarding it, it's a matter of human rights. Not the BLM, the movement itself, it's actual Black Lives Matter. Actual Black people matter.
Absolutely. I mean, think about it. We were the one who, like you said, the picture of the hanging.
Right.
The beatings, the Martin Luther King march. There's so much that we did go through.
Unequal education.
And that's still happening today.
It does. Because you'll see, there's so much to it, but you can't expect people who have been uneducated to advance at the same rate and education is the key. I mean, I'm not saying that school or college is for everybody, but you need a basic education to progress in life.
Absolutely.
And when you have people who are centuries ahead of you, that's why I don't understand the mockery of saying that Black individuals are poor or they are uneducated. Like, we are literally centuries behind.
We are, very much. And not only that, some states
Oh yeah.
are really,
southern states. Southern states. Look at our education compared to every other state in the country.
Absolutely. I mean, I grew up north.
Mm-hmm.
And when I came to the South, like up north, we were so ahead that they was actually trying to put me back to where no, we can't do that. So it's like that with a lot of things here in the South.
Yeah, the South is very proud and they're very stuck in their ways. But I also am a little bit confused with what the Confederacy, what there's to be so much pride in. Not even the fact of slavery in that argument, but it lasted for 4 years. It's not like it was some big long event.
Right.
You know?
Right. So I can only imagine for you, right? And your friends, with all the Black Lives Matter that is going on around you. And you saying you grew up mainly on the white side of your family. What have you been hearing? Because you can tell us. We don't know. We can only imagine what the youth or, young people in your age are saying and how they're feeling. And then tell me, what are your thoughts?
So I would say that I have a relatively diverse group, but I do go to a PWI, which is a predominantly white institute. So I still have a lot of white friends, comrades. Pretty much my whole life has revolved around white America because that's our majority. So I'll even say for my minority friends, not so much that they're over it, but like I said, to most of us, it's just become a political stunt. It's not what it actually stands for. And so they want to support it, but it's just so many bad things are getting tied into it that they're not wanting to be a part of it necessarily, the movement itself. Right.
Well, you know what? You're actually right. When you watch a lot of it on the news, some of the things that are happening in the march is not really caused by African Americans.
Right. Oh, for sure. There's people there just to raise havoc
Absolutely. Especially when we just want, things to be known. Hey, listen, it's time for change.
And it obviously draws attention, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And then you have the ones that are coming in and doing things that is not what we're here for.
Right.
So, yeah. So I can understand.
I actually witnessed a Black Lives Matter. It wasn't a very large event by any means. But I was in Charlotte this past weekend, and I went out to dinner at this restaurant called Chima in Charlotte. Amazing restaurant, just in case anybody wants to go. But we had seen a group of cops. They went by and they were on their bikes, and we thought, well, maybe they're just doing something routine because there's been Black Lives Matter marches every day in Charlotte since the beginning. So we're like, well, there's probably something going on, and it wasn't. But 10 or 15 minutes later, there was a group, I would say about 40 to 50, who had they had come marching up the street. And I'm by no means for looting or destroying property or anything of that nature. I do believe in peaceful protesting, but it's effective. It causes attention.
Absolutely.
So they came marching up, and they weren't doing too much of anything destructive, but there were barricades and stuff up, so they would knock over the barricades. They were just causing distraction, but they were also causing traffic in the streets. And then right in front of us, these girls, they start pulling flowers out of the bushes just because, this is the beautiful city of Charlotte, so, y'all don't want to act right, so we're going to pull these flowers up. And it is kind of crazy, and I also think, really, what does it do? But I also, one of the girls with me, so I was on my drill time, so one of the ladies who was with me, she is a Black cop in York County.
Okay.
And we weren't too sure, so the cops were following the mob, just keeping an eye out. It wasn't anything crazy going on until they kind of stopped, I would say 15, 20 feet. So this is right beside us. It was right beside us. Yeah, we were outside waiting for the valet to come. And we didn't know what had started, but we think that the Black Lives Matter protesters actually started like messing with a homeless man or something, and so then it kind of got crazy real quick. And that's the thing, is it switches so fast.
Yes.
And so then the cops, like, they had to start getting rough with the girl, and they're like, you can't just be messing with innocent people on the side. And that's another thing is, once again, I'm so happy to have white allies, but these were white individuals just causing havoc, and for what? And I'm sitting there talking to a Black man who was recording. I was like, I support you guys by all means. I support my people, but don't be out here causing havoc and disrupting things, because for what? But to me, property is not equivalent to the lives. So I can't really be that upset with people for being outraged or being mad and wanting to show how angry they are and destroying things, because there are human lives being taken daily.
Absolutely, absolutely. But when we speak on that, for me, my thought is, why tear up where you live?
Yeah, and that's exactly what the Black cop was saying. And she's on both sides for real, and she's like, these people sacrifice every day for you guys.
Absolutely.
And I support police officers. I have family who are police officers. I support the military, but there's a difference between supporting these people and I don't support some of the people. Like, I don't support police brutality. Like, there are people who are doing bad and evil things.
Yes, they are.
And they're not getting called out. There's so much corruption. They're not getting called out. There's no justice being served for them. Mm-hmm. Like Breonna Taylor, for example, her family just got a $12 million settlement, but who's paying for that? Probably taxpayers. Where are the charges? Where are the arrests for the officers? No indication of wrongdoing for the officers. It's just, here's some money. Hope this helps.
And then just go
about your way. Keep quiet.
It shouldn't be like that.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be like that. And we'll be right back. We're going to take a commercial break.
If you haven't done so yet, please go to our YouTube page, like and subscribe and share.
May 29th, 2020. It's a rainy day, literally and emotionally for me. I considered not creating this post, but I've never been afraid of backlash before. I come to publicly address my non-people of color friends and especially family members, to ask why it is I have seen so few of you lend your voices to the matters prevalent in our great country. I know it cannot simply be because you don't want to be controversial, considering time after time I've seen you speak on political matters on a public platform that would be seen as such. Or is it that you know that the people you surround yourself with support the same ideals in these situations so you can be comfortable? You would rather be complacent and comfortable than speak out against injustices that cannot be denied. There is no way that those who I know that claim others are ignorant and should gain information on topics have idly sat back and not informed themselves on the subjects of injustice, police brutality, or shall we say murder, white privilege, health disparities due to race and culture. I just know it can't be true. The same people who raised me to stand up for what is right, regardless of consequences, I can't find leading the pack. How is that? Then again, some of these same people have said racially insensitive statements for years. I'm almost at the age where I can say decades, without correction or any implication of their words. The same people who at times would discredit my own experiences with racism because I grew up in a white family. Then I was in the suburbs as a teenager. I'm light-skinned, considered exotic, beautiful. There's no way I had experienced what they described as true racism. I'm so displeased to inform you that I have, on many occasions, in school, at church, while hanging with a particular crowd, while working, doing extracurriculars, and meeting families of friends and partners. But the expectation for that to happen has been normalized. So it isn't too often anyone hears me speak on it from a personal perspective. Do you think those were comfortable experiences, or that this is a comfortable topic for me to speak on? More specifically, how comfortable is it to call out the people in my circle? No, but that is the kind of thing you do when you want to see change. I just can't fathom how politics, which will get brought into this discussion undoubtedly, and inevitably for some reason, can have a bigger impact on you than the lives of innocent people. Just because it isn't something that affects you directly does not mean it isn't happening to someone you claim to love and support. I see and hear your silence, and it does not sit well in my heart. In fact, it hurts. Please delete me if you feel this post is too much, you're tired of seeing everything come down to race, or the discussion of racial injustice in general. If you will continue in your silence harboring what you know to be true, and lastly, if you see me as being the ignorant one. As for the remainder of my day, I will continue completing my coursework for the summer. And in my free time, I will read into more literature to be well versed on subjects regarding minorities and injustices because for me, it is important, urgent, and necessary. Just as many of those who I am addressing would say, I will keep you in my thoughts and prayers because you will certainly need it to gather the courage to become an ally.
And welcome back. Miss Anika, we was talking about quite a few things on the break. We talked more on the break about your childhood. We went back there for a few minutes. Tell me the thoughts that you had in the process of the break.
So I was thinking about, you're asking me, when did I really see a difference in how I was brought up or my hometown, basically that's what I've talked a lot about. And I was about 6 or 7, maybe 8, and I had taken notice to the fact that my family always felt the need to establish that I was an outsider of the family. I wasn't necessarily born into the family.
Right.
And so I just explained to them that, there's no reason that you need to give my life story and sit here and explain this and that and how I came to be into the family because it's really nobody else's business, for one. And on top of that, is it that you're not proud to be associated with someone of color in your family? Like you don't want them to think that your siblings have taken part in that. It doesn't really matter how I'm your niece. If I'm your niece, I'm your niece, and that's really the bottom line. But then I moved to Fort Mill, South Carolina when I was 13 years old, and Fort Mill is not extremely diverse by any means, but compared to where I was from, it did seem rather diverse. And then there was a lot of ideas and perspectives that were brought to me, and then I went into high school, and I had a pretty great high school experience, honestly, but I would see and hear things there too. We actually had a section, which it is just human nature to kind of gather with who you know or your type of people, And so there was the Black students would all gather in the cafeteria in one section, and they actually referred to it themselves as well, but it was referred to as Little Africa.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, just lots of generalizations, and that was kind of odd. And I also never really fit into like one group, and I don't want to. I don't like to be put labels on.
Right.
But I was always too Black for the white group, or I was too white for the Black group. I didn't really fit into one section here or there. And I always kind of felt like an outcast, but I didn't let it bother me because everyone was still loving and accepting of me.
Right.
But I didn't feel like I had a root group at the same time. And then I would also see things from my hometown about they were comfortable enough that these individuals, they had hosted KKK rallies in the city. They had hung KKK banners, and I didn't see it myself, but I had seen videos of it. I'd seen the advertisement for it. I'd seen the banner and post. So yeah, I realized things were very different in that area, especially whenever I moved away and could see from an outside perspective of how they thought.
Okay, let's talk about when you spoke with your family members, and with your family members, you always felt like they had to explain to any guest or anyone that would come around. What was their response when you was like, why do you have to explain who I am?
One thing about them is they don't really think about it. They don't really know that they're doing it because it's so subconscious. It's so
natural.
Yeah, exactly. So they were kind of taken aback. They were like, well, we don't mean any harm. We don't want you to feel not loved or not a part of it. We love you to death. But, to them, it just felt like it was something that needed to be explained.
Wow.
Yeah.
I know that had to be hard on you.
It was difficult, but I do know that they truly love me, and I try to use my voice and my color to give them other ideas, outside perspectives, and get them out of those old ways.
Is it still difficult today, you think? Or do you think today they see more and understand more what you're feeling and going through?
I definitely think that they understand more for me, and I can help them see for other minorities as well, but they still live in their own worlds. They already have their own principles and ideas made up about people and groups and things of that nature.
I know you mentioned a cousin that you have that's going through it as well. Have y'all ever had the time to talk about it together and really discuss what you're feeling, or Or are you on the same page with that?
Are you talking about my cousin from in 6th grade?
Your cousin that you said was mixed as well. Did you?
I do have cousins who are mixed as well,
Mm-hmm.
and one of them happened to speak up on the Facebook post, and she was saying how she personally didn't want to speak out against it because she just kind of feels like she's in a closet and like she doesn't really have the same support. But whenever I spoke on the Facebook post, I actually had a great deal of support, whether it come from friends and family. And I even had family members admitting that, they haven't spoken out, that they have been indifferent, and that it was time that they, that they took a stand, or that they at least recognized the fault and not recognizing the injustices.
Right, absolutely. On the break, we also talked about how you love education and going into the history. Tell us a little bit about that. And you wrote a book.
I did. I brought 2 books, yes.
Okay,
So
awesome.
a lot of the education that I have learned about Black history has been from my own doing, whether it be on the internet or through classes. So this is a class that I decided to take because it was interesting to me. So the class itself is called Southern Culture.
Mm-hmm.
And this book specifically is one that they had us do, and it is the Civil Rights in South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
And so this has a lot of great information specifically about Black history. And then the Southern Culture book talks about, our slang, our foods, our tendency to be a conservative state, the Bible Belt, all of those types of things.
I'm gonna hold this up so
Yeah.
the audience can see the book that you're speaking of.
And this book is available on Amazon. I think it's like $15. There's a lot of great information in here.
Okay.
And something very important also to note about this is that this isn't something that happened. Yes, we've been dealing with setbacks for centuries, but
Right.
these civil rights movements
And this is the other Southern Culture book that she's speaking of as well.
yes, and they're both available on Amazon. I think this one might be a little bit more pricey just
Okay.
because it is a textbook.
Awesome.
But these civil rights movements and speaking out and trying to create equality for us has not been a far away thing. This has
Right.
happened within the last century, the last 50 years.
Mhm.
Even in Clemson, I've read a post on Facebook, and it was saying how within the last 60 years, they just had their first Black student who went to be a graduate, and then he got his master's degree from MIT, I believe, like greatness, of course.
Awesome. I love
But
it.
this is not something that it's far away.
Right.
This was just the other day practically, and it's been in my grandparents' lives. It's been in my parents' my mom's in her 50s, so it was during her
Right.
time. So this isn't new.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's been a long, ongoing fight, that's for sure.
Absolutely. I'm just so happy that you're in this season to stand for what you believe in and be an advocate and being able to speak up and say, hey, listen, I'm still this little girl that I was growing up. I don't see color, but other people do. And you have a voice and you're using it in a very awesome way.
Yes, and I'm happy to use my voice. I know some people might not like exactly what I'm standing for, but I also don't just go based on how I feel. I'm going based
Right.
off of facts and truths and experiences. And I also feel comfortable being able to speak out because young people, we're not afraid of a lot of things.
That's right.
I mean, people might say we're entitled or we're babies and this and that, but we stand up for what we think is right. We're definitely a lot more outspoken, and technology's helped us do that as well. So people might say racism is worse, but it's not worse. We're just able to show it. We're just able to say this is exactly what happened. Here's the evidence behind it.
That's right. That's right. So where do you see yourself going? Like even after the show, what would you like to see the changes, and how would you like to be a part of those changes?
Well, currently I just joined a group, and they are really adamant, and their prominence has to deal with voting rights. And that goes, well, I mean, they do a very large range of things, but after this, I plan to go forward and hope that I can encourage young people to vote to see a change.
Absolutely.
That is a very big thing to me right now. We make up such a large portion of the population, but we always are the lowest to show up at the polls.
Absolutely.
So that's one way that I would like to see a change. But more than anything, you got to see a change of heart. You got to have a change of your mind. And that's where it's difficult because people who are set in their ways, it's not so much that they haven't seen it or they haven't been told.
Right.
It's just that they have to want to for themselves to change.
Okay. That is my phone. The alarm that it won't. Okay.
Okay, quiet on the set.
So a way that I would like to see a change, I think that a big way that we'll see change is by voting. And it's very important that we get young people to go out and vote. And so I just recently joined a group, and they're very big on getting young voters registered, whether it be in their home state or it's here in Columbia. And they do calls, they do phone calls, and so they actually call representatives for things and see what their policies are about, or if they want certain people taken out of offices, or they'll do write-ins. They do all types of different things, but I think that voting is very important for looking for change. And something that I'm not really so sure of is we have these candidates who are also older and set in their ways too, but we should advocate for having young representatives even from the beginning, like local and then state and then going to the federal level. And so that kind of plays its part in education itself too. And the South it's not always been the best about having great education, which we talked about briefly too. I just think that education is the fundamental way of finding a way out, regardless of what you look like. If you have an education, you've got a good start. And to me, education, I'm the first in my family to go to college and graduate from college.
Awesome.
And I'm very proud of that.
Congratulations.
Awesome. I'm very proud of that. And I worked very hard, and I joined the military so I could be able to do it. But I didn't want to be the same generational cycle. And that's just to go to show,
just breaking it.
Right, that's to go to show that came from a white family, and they didn't have crazy amounts of money or anything like that. They didn't go to school. And then I have my Black counterparts the same, who they didn't come from much of anything, and they're making something out of themselves too.
Awesome. That's so beautiful.
Thank you.
That is so beautiful. Continue to do what you do. I know you're big on education. You mentioned that you're military as well. So tell us a little bit about that right now.
I really don't speak too much of my military experience. I'm very grateful for it nonetheless, because I'm getting a free education and I don't have to do like a crazy amount of service. I mean, I could be called up at any time if a war were to break out or something like that. I think that a very difficult part about being in the military for me is I'm still dealing with a lot of my higher ups are in their 50s or they're going to their 60s. They've been in what we refer to as the old army, and they're very brash about things. They're very set in their ways as well. And they don't see things from our younger point of view, and they see us as being, whiny or wanting change for everything. But we just want what's good for people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But overall, military doesn't treat me too bad. Can't say that, I love my my chief in command, but it is what it is, and I have to respect, what is.
Yeah.
Respect's a big thing, but doesn't mean I necessarily support.
Right. Absolutely. You know what? I'm glad that you spoke up, because a lot of the younger generation feel that they cannot go to college, and there's always a way.
Yeah,
so
there is.
Even it's great to know that the military will help with their education as well.
Yeah, I think that the military is a great resource, by all means. However, I saw something, it was like, if they were to give free healthcare or to have cheaper college or free college, which I don't necessarily support free college, but once again, like being able to go to a 2-year school and just get something under your belt is much better than
having anything.
Yeah, having nothing at all. So they're saying if they were to offer those things, the reason that the government probably really doesn't want to do that is because enlistments for the military would be much lower, because that is so many people's incentive. I know countless even sergeants and higher up that I've met, and they stay in year after year because the healthcare is unmatched. As far as if you're active duty, your family is going to be provided for, they're going to be taken care of.
Right.
And one of them specifically, he was one of my trainers when I was in training, and he was telling us how he stayed in all this time because his daughter has a chronic disease and it's never going to go away. So in order to be able to care for her and have her medical bills paid, I mean, he's going to stay until he retires. So
Wow.
yeah.
That's something to feel like you're, I don't know if the word stuck
Yeah.
is the right word, but you gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I wouldn't say that he necessarily feels stuck. It's like I said, it's not a bad gig. You go to
because
work.
you're serving the country as well.
Yeah, you
and
are
we're very
serving the country.
grateful.
Yeah.
We're very grateful.
So there's a lot of benefits that go with it. Every job has its downsides, and that's what I say when people are like, well, what do you think about it? Like, would you suggest other people do it? I would not encourage nor discourage anybody to do it because it's not for everybody, that's
Right.
for sure.
Absolutely.
But it does offer a lot of great outs and benefits if that's something that you'd be interested in. And also traveling experience too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I am so glad that you're a part of us today. I'm telling you, I've said this. I think you're the youngest that we have had on the Bev For Real show. And it's just an honor.
Thank
You know, it's an honor. And I'm praying that you're the first of many that will come behind and share their story, their experiences. I am also grateful. I'm just listening to your story and it's just amazing to me. I'm so serious.
I love to be a younger voice. Yeah. Because why
Yeah.
not? I mean,
Absolutely.
we are part of this community as well. So
Absolutely.
what we think and how we feel is important.
Yes, absolutely. You know what? You're doing a wonderful job. I know people are listening. I am so glad to know that not everyone turned on you because of what you said on Facebook.
Right.
You know, it's so important that your voice is heard. You know, there's so many that's holding that on the inside. You
Yes. So in reference to the post, once again, I mean, it's hard to honestly give backlash or to say that someone's wrong whenever they're speaking fact and truth. And that's why I think that it isn't opinion-based arguments for me. It's based on what is actually happening, what has happened. And there were several other people. My cousin, I told you that she spoke on it. I had a friend from high school. He said, you know, he loves his family, but it's the same way for him. And so there was outpouring support, but also people who said that they could relate to the situation, and they were grateful that I spoke up about it. So
That's
they had
amazing.
Yeah.
You know, and it's amazing because back in the days, it was like that was a no-no thing to do.
Yeah.
You know, but love is love. People do what people do.
Mhm.
And the ones that suffer are normally the children growing up that gets, you know, oh, you're this or you're that, and my parents, you know what I'm saying?
or even just the shut up and be quiet and deal
Yeah.
with it. That's definitely an older way of thinking. Your child is better to be seen than to be heard. So. Yeah.
So those were some of the things that you would hear as well?
No, not
how
me.
you felt?
Not even, I mean, maybe how I felt at times, but my family, they're not typically like that. I mean, honestly, there's no filter on me. They can't stop me. I've always been very independent and outspoken.
Mm-hmm.
So, whether they agree or disagree, they listen, they hear me out usually.
That's awesome. And I'm sure you have a beautiful family. I am so sure of that. And I pray when they see this show, they get to a better understanding of what you're feeling, how you're feeling, and continue to be very supportive of you.
Yes, I definitely, wonder like what are their ideas going to be about me speaking out, because I'm not trying to bash my family, but it's still like it's my own experience. It's what's happened to me and how I see it, and I think that they're great and wonderful people, but at the same time they don't have a good understanding, or they don't want to have a good understanding.
Understand that, and we'll be right back.
Hey you guys, this is Bev from the Bev For Real Show. I'm so excited. I'm here at Atlantis. Check this out. The food is phenomenal. The owner right here. Come on out, come through. Atlantis is it, the food, the music, hands up,
All right.
and the A is down.
All right.
See you on the next time.
The Bev For Real Talk Show would like to thank the following sponsors. If you would like to become a sponsor or have your commercial aired during the show, please email bevforrealshow@gmail.com or call 929-286-3513.
And welcome back. Anika, thank you. We're getting ready to close out today. One thing I will ask of you, if you can look into the camera and say to the ones that are watching what you feel of Black Lives Matters, and what would you say to those that are living in the same shoes that you're living in? What advice or what would you tell them from the heart if you look into the camera and tell them just that?
So as far as Black Lives Matter, I'm in support of Black lives, of course. I don't know how I always feel about the movement just because of the controversial issues that might come about. My suggestion for young people, especially if you're looking for a professional job, not that you necessarily want to be a part of a place that would not support that, I would suggest you make sure you use face coverings, you don't have any identifiable markings on you. You want to stay away from the destructive people because you don't want to be caught up in that mess. And even more so, if you're a Black person, you don't want to be a statistic who goes to jail for being destructive whenever you're just trying to show your support for your people and speak out for your people. It's not worth that by any means, because what are you going to do from inside a jail cell?
That's right.
As far as for people who are in the same shoes as me, whether you're young or you're old, it's never too late to speak up. But also for the young people, to be courageous, use your voice, and whether you think so or not, there's somebody else who will either recognize and feel the same way as you do, or they will be supportive of you regardless. There's always people going to be in your circle, and if they're not, then that's even more reason for you to leave, to not surround yourself with those kind of people.
That's awesome. Those are awesome words. Now, you brought your Bible, a little small Bible book, and there's a verse in it that we spoke of. Would you go ahead and read that and close us out in that?
Yes, I would love to.
That
So
is so awesome.
this is actually a prayer. It's not anything new by any means, but I just thought that it really spoke so much to, in the South, we live in the Bible Belt. So many of us are Christians, and as a Black, whether you're white, whatever kind of Christian you are, I mean, that's what we've been mainly talking about, considering I'm biracial. So of course we have so many other groups of people who affiliate themselves with this religion, and I just thought that this was a strong message to remember to stay united, and be loving of your neighbor. So it says, "O Lord, even when we are at war, make us instruments of your peace. Where there is hatred, let us plant the seeds of your love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. And when there is sadness, joy."
How beautiful is that? How beautiful. We thank you for joining us today. Anika, thank you for a beautiful episode. If anyone wanted to reach out to you, to have you to come out and speak on any topic as the ones that we have spoke about today, is there any way that they can reach out to you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really do too much speaking, but I am an activist. I'm never opposed to a new experience or using my voice and talking to young people especially. So all of my social media or anything of that nature is my name. It's Anika Myers, so ANIKAMYERS. I think the best way would probably be to be Facebook, but I'm very cautious of
Absolutely.
who I meet with and who I talk with. I tend to be pretty private just because you don't know
Absolutely.
who's who, and it's all, you can never be too
Absolutely.
careful. So
Absolutely.
I'm definitely open to the idea of going to speak to anybody, whether it's just one person who feels like they need to be heard or
Right.
anything of that nature.
Awesome. We thank you once again. We thank you also for watching the Beth For Real show. As I say at the end of each show, be true to yourself by keeping it real, for real, and we'll see you in the next episode.
The Bev For Real show is produced by Vice Productions.
Let's keep it real.